everyone, it's Michelle Caruana from Play Cafe Academy. And last night in Playmaker Society, we did a coaching call. And if you don't know what Play Cafe Academy or Playmaker Society are, they are my premium programs, and all of the links to all my free resources and all of my paid programs, including both of those, are in the description of this video. And we're gearing up towards the holidays, and everybody is curious about vendor events. And these are something that at my indoor playground facility, I used to refer to as sip and shops because we would offer usually generally coffee or something like that. And parents or whoever wanted to kind of stroll in would be able to grab a cup of coffee or a latte and kind of browse around to different vendors and basically get their holiday shopping done. And we made a lot of mistakes with these, and we did a lot of things right with these. So I kind of wanted to walk through that so that you can hopefully avoid a lot of the mistakes that I made. And I just want to put a little disclaimer out there. Some of my opinions on this topic are probably going to ruffle some feathers, but this is based on my experience, and I feel very strongly about this. So I apologize if I offend you, but again, the numbers really speak for themselves in the situation. I'm trying not to make this video from an emotional state. However, I always tend to get a little bit animated when talking about these topics. So again, I apologize in advance if I ruffle feathers, but not really. Okay, so what is a sip and shop event? I gave you the little brief overview, but what does it look like in practice? So we would typically do these. A lot of people will do them on weekends, but I found that it's really hard to get parents solo on the weekend. Generally, weekends are reserved for family time, at least in my area, at least for my general clientele. So we usually did these on a weeknight. We tried both having children allowed and not having children allowed, which I will talk about in just a moment. But most cases, kids are not allowed. And we would just give our customers a chance to kind of stroll in, again, have a cup of coffee, maybe some champagne, something like that. And we would basically move all of our furniture in the cafe area. I'll post a picture of one of our setups, and we would allow vendors to set up and have different displays. Now, we generally didn't charge guests for these. You could just come in, have a free cup of coffee. So that was a cost that we incurred, but we would charge the vendors. And because our space is pretty small and we weren't guaranteeing like thousands or even hundreds of shoppers that some of these larger events could kind of guarantee, we generally charged around $50 to $75 per vendor, depending on how much space they would need. And we would generally have between 15 and 20 vendors per event. So that's between, $750 to well over $1,000 in gross profit from each sip and shop event without having to charge guests. Now, what we did was we would post a sign up link. So at the time we were using Occasion, and basically we would post a sign up link on the website. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about logistics, but we would ask people to sign up in advance. Then they would come, they would shop, they would purchase things and leave. So again, generally they probably only spent around 30 minutes shopping. We didn't allow for a lot of seating because we didn't want people to kind of hang around and linger too much. We just kind of wanted to be a space for them to mingle a little bit, get their shopping done, and then kind of head out because we can only accommodate so many people when we have all of the space reserved for vendors. So we kind of made it a more casual, like drop by and check out these amazing local vendors type of thing. Now, I wrote down some tips, but and I'm going to get into, but something that I wanted to mention is that um, in the Playmaker Society call last night, somebody was saying, oh, do you allow socks in the play area? Do you allow people to bring in outside food and drink? Like, do you flex your policies at all for these types of events? And honestly, I said no, because even though they're adults, if we had any vendor set up in the play area, which honestly we very rarely did, I still had them take off their shoes because we're in New York, it was winter time, and people were trudging in salt and snow and mud and dirt and all of these yuckies. And we just decided as, kind of a hard rule to stick to all of our policies. So no outside food or drink. People had to remove their socks if they went to the play area. We kind of kept all of those policies as is, even though guests, might roll their eyes a little bit if they have to take their shoes off as adults to go into the play area, even though they're not playing. We would just kind of, again, come from a point of education, which I always recommend. And we would just say, you know what? Our littlest guests use this space and a lot of them crawl around, and we just don't want any of the outside yuckies or germs to kind of infect the space. And once we explained that, of course, they were very understanding, especially when they looked down at their shoes and saw how dirty they were. But I just wanted to mention that before I give the tips for the sip and shop events, is that we just kept our policies pretty much as is. Now, the first tip that I have for these sip and shop events is don't charge for adults. You will be able to make more than enough profit from this type of event from charging your vendors, and you're going to be much more likely to get people in the door. You're going to be much more likely to have them bring friends or spread the word. And a lot of times I found that in like the mom groups or the local Facebook groups, you can't advertise any paid events, but you can advertise free events. So a lot of times they would allow me to advertise these types of events because they were not paid. So there's a lot of benefits to having these types of events as free for guests. Again, you're going to make your profit generally from the vendors, or you can get businesses to sponsor the event. So let's say a local insurance agent or a local restaurant doesn't necessarily want to set up a booth, but they want to sponsor the event. They can make a donation to kind of cover and offset some of the costs. So you're going to have labor costs. You're going to have cost for any food or drink you provide, all of that good stuff, cleanup, all that stuff. So you can make monies a few different ways for this event, but I don't recommend charging guests. And that's something that you don't usually hear me say. I usually do not recommend doing any sort of free events because it attracts the wrong people. But again, this type of event doesn't really attract the wrong person. It really only attracts buyers because there's really not much else to do, honestly, at this type of event other than shop. Again, charge for vendors. Here's the part that gets a little bit, I want to say controversial, but keep it to high quality vendors. And what do I mean by high quality vendors? I mean real, legitimate small local businesses, handmade items, makers, artists, anyone with legitimate small businesses. Something that I do not consider a legitimate small business is a multi level marketing company or any sort of direct sales or marketing company. And I don't really care if you don't agree with that. I do not agree with that business model whatsoever. I think they have terrible sales tactics. I think they are predatory, and I don't agree with the business model. There was a time way back when I did allow MLMs to infiltrate our sip and shop events and things like that. And let me tell you, not one single person bought something from an MLM vendor. Because again, the people selling those events, you can tell they don't have the passion behind their product that the actual small business owners have. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the charisma. They don't have the sales tactics down. Again, I sat and watched so many of these different sales events, and the customers would literally come and avoid those booths at all cost. And something that I shared in the coaching call was that our first couple sip and shop events went amazingly well. We had hundreds of people come. Again, we did allow about 50% MLM vendors. We only allowed one per company and one per category. So, for example, we wouldn't allow two makeup companies to attend the same event just to keep it from being redundant, because again, we were only having 15 to 20 vendor spots per event. So the first couple were amazing. So many people came. Again, the MLMs didn't really do a lot of sales, but the couple events after that, like almost nobody came, and I couldn't figure it out. And I was wondering, and I actually like tapped a couple of my customers that were coming to the previous events. I tapped them on the shoulder and I said, why didn't you come to these events? And they said, oh, we don't attend any events where there's multi-level marketing companies. And I noticed that there was quite a few at your event. And then vendors were starting to ask me, do you allow MLMs? And some of the highest quality, most well-respected vendors, small businesses in our area, refused to book events that had any sort of multi-level marketing allowance in their vendor list. So I kind of had to do my own research, and this was years ago. This was way back in like 2016, because we were allowing LuLaRoe, Beauty Counter, all those types of Sengens, Herbalife, Young Living, doTERRA, all of those vendors we were allowing in our space. And I did a lot of research. I did my due diligence, and I just realized that their business values just do not align with my own. And I found, so once we stopped allowing the MLM vendors, and we made it very vocal. So once we stopped supporting MLMs and allowing them to attend our vendor events, I made it very clear when I was reaching out to vendors from that point forward. I said, we do not allow MLMs. This is a small business owner event for handmade or curated, or it doesn't necessarily have to be handmade, because there were some children's book authors or For example, I was selling our merch. So I had our climbing vines mugs and our t-shirts and things like that. Those aren't necessarily handmade. So I didn't want to be exclusive like that. I just said, no MLMs, please. And I let vendors know. And then I let our customers know as well that there would be absolutely no multi-level marketing companies in attendance. And they were absolutely thrilled. And let me tell you, we got several negative comments. Not one single negative comment was from somebody that was not in an MLM. The only people that had an issue with MLMs not being there were MLM business owners themselves. So our customers were thrilled. Our events rebounded. We were booking the best vendors again. Our reputation really bounced back, but it was rough there for a while. And we had to be very vocal, and I had to be really honest. Like, listen, I made a mistake. I should be more careful about who I associate my business with, about who I allow into our space. I'm so sorry. And again, the only negative comments were for people that participated in MLMs. So I would highly recommend you avoid my mistake. MLMs are more controversial than ever. And there are so many companies out there that will say, oh, well, I'm not an MLM, I'm a handmade vendor. And a lot of times you'll have to dig in and get a little bit more specific, because sometimes people that are selling MLM type products, like essential oils or something like that, they'll bundle their MLM products with their little business card in like a gift basket with a bottle of wine and call it a handmade item or something like that. So eventually, because they were getting so weaselly trying to get into our events, I eventually had to do a application process, because previously people could just sign up. I would just say no MLMs, but then they would sign up and pay anyways and then weasel their way in. But after that, after it got to be so ridiculous, I did an application process, and I would just say, it was a quick Google form. I made it in like 2 seconds. And I would say, hey, can you please fill out this form? Give me your website. They didn't have a website, or if it went right to like a direct sales page, that was a huge red flag. Obviously, I would not allow them. Let me see your website. Let me see your Instagram. What's your business name? Tell me a little bit about your business to see if we're a good fit. And that helped weed out a lot of the people that were giving us trouble, the people that our customers did not like to see. I think Michelle in the coaching call kind of said, you know, one of those things like, where are all the MLMs? Said nobody ever. And that was exactly my experience. I don't think there was one single person that missed any of them there. And again, I'm so sorry if that is offensive to anybody, but it's just how I feel. And again, I saw it with my own eyes. I talked to so many customers about it, and people just don't want to go to vendor events that are saturated with multi-level marketing vendors. And a lot of self-respecting vendors will not associate their business with vendor events that allow them. So keep it high quality, keep it to local businesses. Local businesses need your support now more than ever. Encourage those types of businesses to participate in your event. That's all I'm going to say on that topic. I could talk about it for a million gazillion hours, but I'm not going to. But keep it high quality. Do not make my mistake, because people will stop coming to your event and vendors will stop booking at your event. And it's really hard to rebound a reputation, right? Anyone that's made a couple mistakes in high school knows that it's really hard to get your reputation back after you ruin it. Not saying I know from experience, but just avoid my mistakes, okay? So it's much harder to get your reputation back than to just avoid my mistake in the beginning. Anyways, got a little too personal. Anyways, another way to really up the excitement for this type of event, like I said, is give away coffee or drinks or something like that, or allow people to bring their own alcohol in. Now, we didn't allow food in because that was one of our policies, but a lot of times we did sign up for a special event permit, which allowed alcohol on premises. And it was only like $25 to apply for the special permit. All we had to do was call our local health department. It was very easy. It was one very simple form. We had to have our landlord sign it. We had to have the health department sign it, and very easy, $25. I think it's up to $50 now. But again, if you're grossing $1,000 and you have very little cost other than if you're having people bring in their own alcohol, then you're not providing it. So that's not a cost to you. The only cost would be the license. So if that's the drink you're providing, then your only real cost is labor and cleanup and just coordinating with the vendors and things like that. So if you're grossing over $1,000 per event, I promise you that $50 license will attract a lot of people because they just want to get out. They want to have fun. And something else that we did was we would partner with the restaurant next door, and they might bring over some appetizers, or they might serve alcohol. They might send over a bartender. We had wineries, we had breweries come by and give out samples, and they had like little crawlers or little 4-packs, because a lot of times they, the makers or the handmade items or the small businesses, they would have like gift baskets and things like that. So what I love about these sip and shop events is somebody could go to one booth, grab, mittens or a scarf, and then go to the brewery booth and grab a 4-pack, or go to the winery booth and grab a bottle of wine, and then kind of make a complete gift. So we try to get vendors from as many different categories as possible. Again, not be too redundant. The application process helped with that as well. But giving away free coffee or drinks, or participating with other local businesses, bakeries, anything like that, to kind of go in on this project with you, not only will they be more likely to share your business, your event on their business page if they're an active participant or if they're a vendor, but it's just going to create a better experience overall. And something else that I wanted to mention is that another tip is to incentivize people not only to sign up, but also to come. So how we did that is we had people sign up via a link on our Facebook event. And we also had it on our website. We also emailed it out. We used Occasion at the time. So basically they were filling out just an information form. So we would collect their email address, we would collect their phone number, so that we would email and text them to remind them to come. And the incentive to get them to do that was to not only make sure that we would have room for them, because again, we had a small capacity, but we said, if you sign up, you're entered to win a raffle. But here's the catch. They had to attend the event in order to be eligible for the raffle. So somebody asked me on the coaching call last night, what is a good time for the raffle? Is it at the beginning of the event? Is it at the end of the event? And I kind of said, all we did was have people check in at the door, and kind of, we would check their name off the list. I would have a staff member just make sure people are attending. And we kind of said, listen, we'll email the winner if you went, because you had to sign up via email and phone number in order to attend. We said that you had to attend the event, but you don't have to be present to win the raffle. So maybe you could have each vendor kind of give one item or something like that, or you could purchase an item from a vendor to put into the raffle, so that you have a nice gift basket, or you could give a gift card from your facility. You could do bags of coffee, you could do your merch, you could do things like that. But the bigger the value of the raffle prize, obviously, the more incentivized people are to give you their email address to sign up, and then also attend the event. So that was one of our most successful ways to not only build our email list and our customer base, but also, actually get people to show up and make sure that the vendors were getting their money's worth. And then something else that I just kind of wanted to mention as a tip was to make it fun. All of our sip and shop events were most fun when we played a lot. One time we did all 90s music. So we did like late 90s music. So we did like Spice Girls, we did NSYNC, we did Backstreet Boys. Because I'm a millennial, and I knew that a lot of the parents, a lot of the caregivers that were attending the event would absolutely love if we played some music that we wouldn't normally play, more adult music. And we would blast that music. Again, we would partner with breweries and wineries and restaurants to have like drinks and snacks and things like that. One time we did an adult coloring event where we would give every single person that walked in the door an adult coloring book. And we would set up just a little area on the side away from the vendors where people could kind of sit, have a drink, do some adult coloring, kind of make some new friends. So any little twist that you can add, I think, is really smart. And then one final tip that came up in the Playmaker Society call was, somebody said, what if I did want to allow people to bring kids? What would that look like? And she was kind of worried that people would just come for the free open play, but not actually shop or anything like that. She was worried that she'd attract the free seekers. And I kind of said, listen, this is a great example of a hybrid model. So you're charging for the adults, or excuse me, you're not charging for the adults because they're shopping, but you're still abiding to your normal policy. You're still charging the child for open play. So sure, you can bring your child, but you're going to have to pay for an open play pass. And you know that you're going to have to abide by all of our normal policies, meaning you have to make sure you're monitoring them, everything like that. We never had great success with the sip and shop events where we allowed kids. We found that parents were really more inclined to come if we gave them like a little bit of an incentive to have a night out. Sometimes, like I said, we would partner with the restaurant next door where they would do some sort of event after. So they would come to us, shop, and then maybe have happy hour there, or maybe reverse. Maybe they would have happy hour at the restaurant and then come shop, something like that, some sort of partnership like that. Again, we did probably 30 to 35 of these events over the years. And these are the tips that I've learned. I know this video wasn't as organized as some of my other videos, but again, we're getting close to the holiday season and we're coming fresh off of that Playmaker Society coaching call. And while everything is fresh in my mind, I wanted to make sure I gave you my best tips for these sip and shop vendor type holiday shopping events. And again, I'm sorry if I said anything that was controversial, but I feel really strongly about it because I feel guilty and I'm so upset by the fact that I put my own reputation and my own business's reputation on the line by associating myself with companies whose values do not align with my own. So I can't caution you against that enough. I just put out a new video all about this on my other YouTube channel if you want to check it out, about being really careful about what partnerships you enter into, what contracts you sign, who you associate yourself with, because it can be really dangerous. I'm not the only one with horror stories. So again, the numbers really spoke for themselves, so don't make my mistakes. I hope you have a wonderful holiday vendor season. And if you are going to be doing a vendor event or a sip and shop event or any sort of holiday bazaar, I would love to hear about it. And I have another really cool idea that I'm going to be posting in a separate video about how you can put another fun twist on the holiday bazaar idea. All right, have a great day, guys. If you haven't checked out my free indoor playground business bundle, all my free and paid resources, including that one, are in the description of this video. Have a great day and have a great holiday season, whatever you celebrate.